23rd September 2011. We're at Lower Meherabad on the front veranda of Mandali Hall. I've been asked to relate a few stories or facts about what I know of Meherabad during my residency here. I first came here in 1971. I spent 4 months. I went back to the U.S. and returned to Ahmednagar in 1974. And at that time, Adi Sr. had a heart attack, and he asked me if I wouldn't help in the office. At that time, the reception for pilgrims was handled by Adi. The trust was really not involved. So he was the only person. So that's how my residency began. And I was there for 3.5 years.
Where did you live?
I lived in a little room next to Adi's bedroom in the trust compound. And during my stay there, I had severe migraine headaches for about 1.5 years. And I awoke one night and I was just taking Baba's name, and it was about 3 in the morning, and Adi woke up and said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I have an unbearable headache." And he said, "All right, I'll give you something." So he went to his box of little homeopathic pills, and I thought to myself, there is no way that these little pills are going to help me with this pain. But let him try. It's not going to hurt me. But he has no idea of the kind of pain, because I would be awake 3 days and 3 nights when these headaches would come. I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink anything without vomiting. But I said, let him try. He asked me a few questions. I couldn't even think clearly. I didn't give him a proper history. He said, all right, take these pills. And within 30 seconds of taking the pills, my headache was 90% gone. So I went back to sleep. In the morning, he asked me, how are you feeling? I said, I have no headache. He said, all right. He said, now you should go see Padri, because he knows more about homeopathy than I do. And he sent me here, and on this room where Padri lived, he also had his homeopathic dispensary, and he would see patients, they would sit on the front veranda here. So I came and he gave me 15 days of medicine, and touch wood, that is in 1974, and I've not had those headaches since. Occasional headache, but not that left-sided severe migraine headache, that's gone. So Adi said to me, you should learn this. Why not learn this? I said, Adi, science was not really my subject. He said, I've been doing this for 40 years. He said, what do you think, I'm a scientist? He said, this is the simple science. So even a simple science, to me, didn't appeal. I had no interest. And in about 6 months, he gave me a couple of books, and he said, go through these. I think you'll find it very interesting, and it will not only be useful to you, but to so many others. So I started to go through them, and I found it very interesting, and I found it to be a simple idea, like chess. Even a child can learn the rules, but to master the game is a different thing. So I started reading and seeing patients with him, and after a year of that study, I started bicycling out here. Early morning, I'd arrive here about 5:30.
Well, you spent a year studying with Padri or Adi?
I was studying with Adi, but I asked Padri if I couldn't come and see patients being treated. So he said fine. And so I would come out here early morning on my bicycle, and one day Padri was on the back veranda of this building. I'd park my bicycle near the brewery cabin, and I would walk up for Arti and come down and see patients, and then I would have to be back in Nagar to the office, so I could only see about half the patients. But one morning he asked me, he said, "Mister, have you had your tea?" And I said, "No." He said, "There's a mug for you here," and he points to the kitchen in the back veranda here. So I had a mug of tea with him, and I went up the hill, and the next morning I parked my bicycle and I'm starting to walk up the hill. And he says, "Mister, where are you going? Your cup of tea is here." And it was my good fortune to have that cup of tea every morning for the next 7 years. Hour and a half with Padri. So after 3 years in the company, it was 1978 now, and I started seeing patients on my own also, and patients with Adi as well. And I wanted to study full-time with Padri. So in 1978 I moved here to Meherabad and started seeing patients.
Did you all those 7 years you were bicycling every day for a few hours and go back?
Well, the 7 years started in 1975. So up to 78 I would bicycle, every day. So in 1980, Dr. Alu Ambata, who was an old-time Baba lover, she had lived at Meherabad with Baba for a couple of years, I believe 1967, 68. When Baba dropped his body in 69, she wanted to be near the Samadhi, so she took a job at the tuberculosis hospital near Aragon, which is now no more. But she was the head of that hospital for a number of years, and in 1980 she retired, and she had a background in homeopathy as well as allopathic medicine. And she said, "Come, my son, we'll open a homeopathic department in the health center." So just down from here in Aragon, where the health center is, I sat with her for 10 years, between 1980 and 1990, and I would sit there 3 days and go to Pimplegown and sit with Gopher in her clinic for 3 days, seeing patients that were being referred for homeopathic treatment. And in the course of that 10-year period, I saw perhaps 30,000 patients. So back to this story. This is the room where Padri lived from the time that this building was built in 1948. He was one of the early Mandali with Baba and Mandali means, so he was here from the very beginning in 1923 when they came to Meherabad. So we'll have a look in his room. This is the one room here that the archive people were interested in because they had the original furniture and so forth, and they wanted to give people an idea of how simple Padri's life was. And if you see his room, you'll get some idea.
When you say his room, this was his room to sleep in too,
yes,
or just his homeopathy clinic?
No, you'll see it all.
Okay.
Now this mosquito screen door has been added. He had nothing like this. Nothing fancy.
Fancy.
Turn some lights on. Now, these lights were not here in his time. But when electricity did come to Meherabad, he was upset because he was used to the beautiful dark nights and no noise from the village and all those things that come with electricity began.
This was his big desk.
But when electricity did come, this was the extent of it in Padri's room. Just one bulb, and the switch was just plugging in the cord into the socket. That was it. These these things we've kept here to give people an idea of just how simple his room was. This is a couple of his homeopathic boxes, and he would sit here in this chair, and he would pull his box out. And people would be standing there on the veranda or sitting on the veranda. He would come inside, and he would give them something from this box, these little globules. And so this is where I first learned homeopathy. I was studying with Adi. Adi practiced more biochemic remedies. Or as Lonnie would tease, biocomic, she would call biocomic remedies and homeopathic medicine.
What's the difference between
biochemic is homeopathic medicine, but it is a theory where you just give 12 cell salts. They are mineral salts that are naturally found in the body, but they're made in a homeopathic potentized form, and the theory is that just by using these 12, so many diseases can be cured. And it's true, many conditions can be cured, but in homeopathy we use several hundred different remedies. So it's more practical in that sense than using just 12. So these are some of the bottles with his original handwriting on them.
Oh, they put you on that.
This is exactly the way his room looked. This painting by Glenn Magrini that he liked of the backside of this building in the Hurry Cabin.
Wait, I'm zooming in on the bottles with his writing on it. He had nice writing.
Yes, he had a very beautiful hand. And if you notice closely, a lot of his things were kept in cigarette tins. This is a Turkish cigarette tin. This is a tin that 500 cigarettes would come in.
Let's see.
This clock on the wall came from Duncan's motor car.
Right, you got a little faster than I'm just doing the cigarette tin here. The bear honeydew, because he liked to smoke.
He did like to smoke. He wasn't an excessive smoker, but
he enjoyed it.
He did enjoy smoking.
How much would he smoke roughly?
Oh, it's hard to say, but probably somewhere between 5 and not more than 10, I would think. Maybe 5 or less, like Adi used to smoke this, perhaps 5 in a day.
He would roll his own. Are these roll your own? Or are they
No, these are
prepared cigarettes?
These are ready-made cigarettes.
Okay. Now you were talking about something up here. What was it?
This is the clock on the wall that was from a motor car that Duncan owned, and it still worked. It was run for several days on one cranking. So that was.
It still works too?
It still works.
I guess no one's used it.
This was his alarm clock, and he slept here. The bed is a little shorter than what it was when he was here. They had lost the extension, but he being almost, I think he was over 6 feet tall, 6'1", 6'2". So he would sleep here. All of his clothes were just in this one cupboard here. He didn't have much. And his flashlight, from sleeping down here, apparently there was too much reflection from his flashlight to see what time it was. So he had this mirror. This is from an old, in the old time the doctors used to wear the mirrors on their forehead.
Oh, yeah, right.
So that's what that was, and he improvised a way in which he would shine his torch on this mirror.
Oh, still, let me capture you doing that. So he would shine his torch
onto that mirror, and the reflection would go from that mirror to the clock at an angle that wouldn't reflect on the glass of the clock, so he could see the time. And
that's very clever.
Yeah.
That was very clever.
Padri was a master mechanic, and just his mind was very innovative. He was like that.
Did he have curtains?
He did have curtains here on this window, and this room is in the process of being restored. It's not totally restored yet, but I'm just showing you a little bit of what's here. During power failures, which in those days were frequent, he would use a kerosene torch that's kept under the desk here.
Now, you said that he liked this painting by Glenn McGreeny?
Glenn McGreeny, yes, he liked it very much. And it's a scene from the backside of this building where you see the old Dharmshala, this building, and Mehera cabin.
I didn't know Glenn was an artist. How lovely.
Yes. And this was back in the, I would say, late 70s. His art has progressed tremendously since then. He's an incredible artist.
Does he sell them? That kind?
I don't think he sells his things, but
at art fairs and.
I don't know, but I've seen some of his latest work, and he sketched a person in the bazaar here in Ahmednagar, just a pencil sketch. I'm not exaggerating. To me, it looked like a Rembrandt sketch. It was so incredible. So Padri saw something in this that he liked, and
there's a lot of beauty in it.
Yeah,
I mean, you can feel a lot of beauty in it.
Just the simplicity of it. And Glenn is
it's watercolors, is it? Watercolor?
It's watercolor, and he's self-taught. He's never had any formal.
You know who did watercolors too was Bear and Baba's brother.
Yes.
And they're very simple, and he gave me, I have many. He would send them to me, and they capture a beauty, and this captures that beauty.
Yes.
You feel it.
Yeah, I would agree.
When you look at that, there's something just very captivating about it.
Yeah, I would agree.
In its simplicity, but yet it's like he captures the essence of because everything here is, to me, is beautiful because everything was with Baba, so it reflects that, and it's like he captures that in that.
And Padri was not one to collect a lot of things, and he had very few possessions. But he liked this, and Glenn gave it to him, and so it's hung here ever since. This watercolor was done by Sally Lynn from Chicago.
Valley Lynn?
Sally Lynn.
Sally Lynn. Okay.
And it shows the table house there, the table room that Baba wrote the book in, Duncan's cabin, and the Jokti, Baba's Jokti. And that Jokti is where the Meher Free Dispensary began in 1936.
Oh, really?
Dr. Gunny asked Baba about opening a free dispensary. He said, in 1925, the Meher Charitable Hospital and Dispensary opened, but in 1926 it closed due to lack of funds. So in 1936, Gunny, who was a homeopath, he began his study with allopathy, but he changed to homeopathy and said, Baba, let's open a free dispensary. Homeopathic, it'll be very cheap. We won't have that problem that we had with the last dispensary with funds.
Was the last one also called Make Free Dispensary?
No, it was called Meher Charitable Hospital and Dispensary, and Padri was what they call compounder, which meant that the doctor wrote a prescription and the compounder literally made 5 drops of this or 3 grains of that, and because there were very few ready-made medicines on the shelf. So the doctor would write a prescription and it was made, and that was one of Padri's jobs. And he was also practicing homeopathy. This is 1925. Pendu was the head of the 10 or 15 bed inpatient hospital. But as I said, that by 1926 they'd run out of funds and it had to be closed. So 1936, Gunny approaches Baba, and Baba agrees. So they said, well, we have no place. Baba said, use my jopti. So Dr. Gunny, Padri, Baba's brother Adi Jr., and another Baba lover who was a homeopath, Dr. Murli Kale, was the 4th member of the original Meher Free Dispensary. And they had a bamboo matting around the circumference of the veranda, and patients would sit there, and the medicines and books were kept in Baba's jopti. And as far as we know, it functioned until this building was built in 1948, and then it came here to Padri's room, and has been in Padri's room until just about 2 years ago, when it is shifted down the end of the veranda to Pendu's original room, and that's where patients are seen now.
Pendu went to Meherabad. Is that it, or what? How did that not be Pendu's room anymore?
Because Pendu left after the accident. Baba called him to Meherabad in, I believe, 1956. So in 56 he left, and the room was vacant until sometime in the late 70s. They were building Meher Health Center down near Aragon, but Gopher wanted a dispensary here before that opened, so they used that room as a dispensary.
Where the kitchen is also?
We can go out and I'll show you.
Okay, we want to finish in here first. Like the mirror. The mirror, has that always been here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Padri would shave and all that with his mirror?
Not here.
He couldn't get too close because he has his dresser.
He would shave in the back by the
sink.
Yeah, the sink. He had a little mirror in his kitchen.
These are all Padri's books.
Yeah, some of them.
So this was always Padri's room, not the other side?
No, this was his room from the beginning, 1948. Okay, the last thing I think of interest here would be these
What does that say at the reflection? I can't quite get the book. Guide or what to?
Guiding symptoms. And these books will be covered. He was very particular. These some are the original books and some are duplications. But something like this, it would never happen with Padri. This is somebody else's hard use after Padri. But we'll have them all covered like they were originally, because for him these were precious. They were expensive, and most of them came from either England or the United States. So he, like this book is an original, he had this covered with cloth. He took meticulous care of his possessions. He wasn't neurotic about it, but he was very practical, very organized. His mind was not at all cluttered. Now this painting up here that you see, this is a copy. The archive people have the original, but this is the last watercolor they have of Donkin. He, in a peculiar peculiar mood burned all of them, and this one happened to be, I think he gave this to Padri. And it's a little hard to see, you might be able to zoom in, but it is Donkin's cabin and Baba's Jopti in the front there. Mm-hmm. And Padri liked this very much.
Very detailed.
Yes. Yeah, and Duncan was...
quite good.
Yes.
They had a garden right in front of it, huh?
Yes.
What is it they had on the veranda? They had something over there. Is that because they had the clinic there? They had like a...
Do you see the bamboo matting?
Yeah.
Yeah. That, I think, served to shield the sun as well as give some area for the patients to sit.
Did Padre ever say why in front of the Jokti above the door? There's two holes. One side has a can filling in and the other side has a bottle filling it in. Was there originally, did he ever say anything about that?
I never heard anything about that, never asked him.
Why it would be, okay, this is very...
Now this board he was very fond of. This is a photograph of the board. You'll see at Meherabad as well as I think up in Baba's room they have a board there.
Up the hill.
But he was fond of poetry and he knew enough Persian that he could appreciate the Hafiz in its original language.
Yeah, because he's Irani.
Yes.
His family came, was his family here in India a long time, like the original Parsis, or?
Well, the Iranis, in India, they call Irani somebody that have come in, let's say, the last 150 years. And Parsis came in the 1300s.
What's the difference?
Parsis were Zoroastrians that arrived in India and were allowed to stay. There were 40 men, and they married Hindu women. So that is the beginning of what they call Parsis. The Zoroastrians.
Oh, they came with only 40 men in the beginning? I heard that they couldn't convert. They weren't allowed to convert.
Right. But the king in Gujarat allowed them to marry Hindu women. So the Parsis, originally from Iran, but they have that connection with the Hindu women.
But that was the first step as far as being here as a group was 40 men.
Yes.
And then they started coming in families and stuff.
I don't know at what point Padri's family came. His mother was Iranian and his Irani, I should say. He was born in India, but being Irani means that he came in the last, at that time probably within 100 years, he came from Iran.
Probably during the 1800s.
Yes. So his father was a Parsi and his mother was an Irani. And his mother and Mehera mother were sisters, so they were cousins. Mehera and
Mehera's mother.
Yes. And his mother, Padri's mother, had a connection with, close connection with Babajan. And because they were born in Pune, she would see Babajan. And Mehera's mother had a close connection with Upasni Maharaj. So this picture here is Baba in Pune, and you'll have to find out the date, but I think it's something like 1918, something like that, but it's on Ferguson Road in front of a little hut there. And this, Padri liked this photo because Jal, Baba's brother Jal, was a childhood friend. Padri, Jal, and Pendu would all play together when they were young in Pune. And Jal told Padri about Baba and took him to see Baba. And he said, when I saw Baba, it looked exactly like this.
For the first time.
Yes. So he liked that photo very much.
So Mehera's, on her mother's side, her mother's maybe grandmother or great-grandmother came from Iran. And,
yeah, I would think
but
so.
Her father, well, Colonel Irani would have been in that category, of course.
Yes.
Right?
The last thing I think is of interest here are these implements in the corner of the room.
Let me get on the other side of the room. I'll go over here.
This is you can call it a spear.
Yeah, it looks like. I'll zoom in on that.
Padri used to kill mad dogs. Rabies is a tremendous problem in India. Over 25 to 30,000 deaths a year in India from rabies. So this he used to kill mad dogs. Padri was not afraid. He was a very calm, cool, and collected in any kind of a situation. He just was he had a very tremendous sense of inner balance about him. This is a snake stick, simple bamboo, with a metal at the end.
Oh, it has a metal at the end, huh?
Well, I think so. Or maybe just tape.
Yeah. And snakes everyone, even now, most of the residents have snakes sticks. I know I've got one in my room.
Here's another version. You see it's got a natural curve, so it's easier to hit the snake from a distance, and it's curved like that, so it comes right down to the ground.
Yeah.
And this, I think, this is the one with the metal. This is basically, I think, just a club.
Ah.
The thing that's missing here, there was a bullwhip also.
Oh, what do you use that for?
On occasion, he whipped a few people. People that were scoundrels, people that would beat their wife or so forth, he would call them here, he would literally whip them. I mean, this is something that it didn't happen often, but the village people were afraid if they were doing something wrong. They were afraid of Padri. Pendu also. And
Pendu also what?
Pendu also was to be feared by the scoundrel, because sometimes Padri and Pendu would take these people to task. But the thing that was unique about Padri's anger is that it was just like a tea kettle. A lot of steam that would go up and then over. There was no maliciousness in it. He was detached from it. He didn't get lost in it. He didn't lose his temper. Temper means balance. Temper is, you can bend a little bit, but you won't break. And that was Padri. He would scold somebody, if they beat their wife or if they drank too much or whatever their problem was. And then it would be over. The lecture would be over. And he would not hold anything. No memory, no malice, nothing. And that was really a lesson to a lot of us to see. This is the kind of temper that expresses itself but without any malicious intent. The intent was to help that person correct themselves.
I saw Adi Sr. do that once in his office. I don't remember what it was about, but someone came in and he lectured him. Whoa, it was like fire.
Yeah.
And then the guy walked out and he went about his business as if it didn't even happen. It didn't exist anymore.
No.
And that left a deep impression on me. So the hooks, you want to talk about the hooks on the wall?
Well, the first thing you notice about them is that they're quite a ways up, because Padri was tall. If you
stand under him, Bobby, so we can really see.
Well, I'm short, but...
Yeah, but you can see. You can really see.
Yeah. He had very few clothes. But what would hang here? Maybe a coat, maybe he had one hat. Well, he had a couple of hats. He had a sun hat, and then he had looked like a Chinese army stovepipe hat with a big bill on it. He would put that on for riding his motorcycle. And you know, there were very few things here. And like I said, in this one cabinet, all of his clothes, which was just a couple shelves. Amazing that how simple his life was, and it was a reflection of his mind. That his mind was, the word that keeps coming to me is uncluttered. A brilliant intellect, but not crowded with lots of ideas and thinking, and he just had this ability to enjoy the present, the moment. And the moment for him was so full. I remember him standing outside here, right in front of his room, and somebody asked him, Padri, he said, do you ever go to Pune? He said, I was born there. I said, no, but do you ever leave? And he goes, why would I want to leave? He said, for me, he said, Meherabad is heaven on earth for me. I don't want anything more. That was what he would say. And it was true. And he had this uncanny ability to kind of know if anything was going wrong somewhere on the property. He'd say to me, come on, mister, put on your tennis shoes, let's go for a ramble, which meant a walk somewhere. And sure enough, there'd be some villager that was hacking the tree, or some kind of infraction, somebody trying to steal something, or somebody using the water because water was very scarce. So he, like Elizabeth Patterson, that was my impression, that when she was on Myrtle Beach, when she was on the Mayor Center, she would just sense if there was something a little awry. She would just make a phone call or get in her car. And this was, I saw on a number of occasions with Padri also. He was the manager, and he took that responsibility seriously, and things ran so smoothly that you didn't even feel anybody was running it. It was a seamless administration because he had tremendous respect. He commanded respect, he didn't demand it. If he said do this, people just did it. There was no meeting, there was no committee. Of course, things were smaller in those days, but literally one person was able to run this entire estate and make it look effortlessly. We all thought that Baba was running it, and of course Baba is, but it requires also somebody to coordinate and to get people to communicate and work together, and he was so capable in doing that. I would say because he was so much in the present, even after he died, I did not get a sense that he wasn't there. I mean, even at this moment, the impact he had on my life is present. Something shifted in that 7 years that I had an opportunity to keep his company. So I would say...
You mean something shifted inside you?
Yes, I would say that whatever experience I have at the present has been largely influenced by changes that took place just by being in his company. The training he had with Baba for so many years, day in and day out. So Mehera asked me, it was about 6 months after he died, do you miss him? Now I thought for a moment, I said, I don't miss him because I still felt that
almost like integrated.
I felt something in my heart. I still felt that same feeling that didn't depend upon him being here or not. But I thought, intuitively I said, no, that's not the right answer to say, no, I don't miss him. And I said, yes. And in a sense it was true. It wasn't that I didn't feel anything, but that answer that I gave her came true later. And I think it came about when I saw how difficult it was to run this entire estate as easily as he ran it. So I started to think of, hey, he made it look so easy. He made it look like he wasn't even doing it. So that, in that sense, all of us still miss him. But those days were so happy that it's not a sad missing, because none of us have come here to stay forever. It's just a different chapter. But all of us that had any amount of time with him were deeply touched by his sincerity, his love. You'll see on the videos, tapes that were done of him, you'll see a little of that. And I remember one of the things on that tape, and this is so typical of Padri's answer, that something about love, loving Baba. He said, I don't know anything about love. He said, I only know obedience. If you want to know about love, go ask those women in Meherabad. I don't know anything about love. So, but through his example of that obedience and to the master and his wholehearted intention to be the slave, to please the master, that love automatically is there, because that's who the master is, the embodiment of that. And they're just wonderful, wonderful times, and we'll see them again in 700 years, those times.
On the other side, when you would go for your ramble, when you go for your rambles with him, and he'd find someone trying to break the tree for their goats or whatever, what did Padri do? Did you ever see him handle a situation?
Well, it was always handled, and usually in a peaceful way, without shouting. It was just, hey, what are you doing? Don't do that. Maybe the man didn't know that wasn't allowed. So he wasn't a tyrant that way. But that was the thing. He was so capable of communicating and handling any kind of a situation like that. I remember when Mohammed was bitten by a mad dog. Padri was just calm, cool, and collected. All right, Erico, you go after the dog. All right, Peter, you call the ambulance, or I forget what arrangements were made, but he was absolutely cool, calm, and collected, and we took Mohammed to the civil hospital, and he had his first rabies injection there, and then they gave the remaining, at that time these were large injections in the abdomen, and they gave the remaining course of 13 injections to Padri to administer here, and Padri was incredibly skillful with hypodermic needle, very graceful, very calm, very confident, and so he gave the remaining injections to Mohammed.
Did they get the dog?
Yes. Yes, that's another story that Erico at the time was interested in the Japanese martial art of stick fighting. The staff, with the staff, is called bo, and in Chinese the bo. And so we saw Erico on the back veranda every morning with his stick. And it would be something like this. He'd be standing there like this. Make a quick move like that. And he would do that over and over for about 6 months. And it was kind of unusual. That was the only movement we saw him practicing, was that one strike like that. So that dog was loose, and we got some report that the dog had earlier jumped at the throat of a bullock, bit it in the throat. So this dog was mad and vicious. And Padri sent Erico out to look for it, and he had a stick. And he saw that dog, and the dog saw Erico and started charging towards him. Erico put his stick up, pop, one blow, and the dog was killed. One blow. And I don't know, I thought perhaps that dog was to bite me, because minutes before he bit Mohammed, I was in the back, and there's an outhouse there with cans, and you pour the water in, and you go into the outhouse. So I was on my way in with this can of water, and there was a stray dog right there. So I shouted, because we were always encouraged to chase these dogs away. The dog didn't move, and I shouted again, the dog didn't move, and I'm about to throw the water on the dog. And I looked in the dog's eyes, and the dog looked in my eyes, and I said, dog looks to be ill. Doesn't look well. It's not growling at me. It's not snarling. It's not barking. I said, let it be. It's sick. Let it be. And I went in and came back. Within 10 minutes, that dog was outside and saw the water running down the faucet, the drain from the kitchen in the back here. And Mohammed was at the tap, and that water was running down, and the dog saw the water and charged and bit Mohammed in the calf. In quite a wound. Padri dressed it, gave him some homeopathic medicine, and in about 10 days it healed beautifully. Hardly a scar, no infection. We dress it twice a day. So.
But he was taking the injections too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Along with the injections.
Oh yes, but I'm saying that the wound was treated homeopathically. And it healed quickly and nicely. Yeah, he was given those injections.
Was this bamboo pole up there? This was here. Padri had put that in.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get in closer.
I don't know what it was here for.
Could be just to hang his light bulb. He could have put something smaller for that.
Yeah, I don't know. But after he passed away in 1982, I lived in this room until 1990.
Oh, did you? This is the room that you lived in?
Yes.
Ah. And why did you move in? Did they ask you to move in here or what?
I think Gopher suggested it and Monty approved it. Oh, that's what happened. I was in the staff quarters that was built along the, just beyond the old Wembley Hall.
And that's where you were living before? That's where you were staying before?
Mm-hmm.
And Monty approved it. Oh, you were here 20 years in those early years, right after Baba dropped the body. 20 years, probably. Now, when did you go back? Yeah, until 90.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I returned here in 2006, so it's been, or 2005. I've been here about 6 years now.
Yeah. It's been, okay,
this tiger's fat, there's a little story here.
They come over here. Yeah, because I meant to ask about that.
This was... in Ayurvedic medicine, it's used as a salve to apply to paralyzed limbs of polio patients. And this tiger fat was given to Padri by Meheru's brother, or Meheru's father, Rustam, Adi Senior's brother, Mehera's mother, Meheru's mother, Meheru's father, Rustam, shot the tiger and gave the fat to Padri.
It actually is tiger's fat.
Yes, tiger's fat. Yes.
It's not just a name of it.
No.
Actually, the fat from the tiger.
Yeah.
He shot the tiger, huh?
Yeah. Meheru's father, Rustam, and her brothers were also hunters. They shot big game.
They would go out into the forest here and forest
in Nasik.
In Nasik. Ah.
Yeah.
Ah. That's where they lived, right? From Nasik?
Yes.
And all these bottles up on the, let me go back over here. The bottles that are up here. I've got a good person. All these bottles, these are for Padri's bottles?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And like what's in them? What was in them?
Well, you see, here is a tincture of a particular plant. It's actually Mehera's favorite wildflower. The Latin name is Tridex procumbens, and in Ayurvedic medicine, they use this like iodine. It's to help the wound heal, and it's antiseptic. It tends to inhibit germs, so the wound won't become septic. So he just would pick the plant and put it in some alcohol, and then overnight, in the morning, you would see the kind of this greenish color.
You would pick the plant, can't you start here?
Yeah, I can show you that plant.
Yeah.
Here's a homeopathic remedy that he would treat cattle with for, this one is, I think, for mange.
What is that big bottle on the left for? Up on the top?
This one is, these were just homeopathic pills inside.
Ah, for the little tiny pills.
Yeah, in those days, they were not manufactured in India, so these bottles were imported from Germany.
Oh, I don't know if you can see them. I got it close, but I don't know if you can see the little pills in them.
Here's his record from...
Wait, let me see. Wait, I got to back it up again.
Record of treating patients.
Is Padri's writing?
Padri's hand.
Do you want to hold it up so I can see one of them? I can see how nice his writing is, too. Bring it up closer, and I'll move in. So I got the reflection of that light. Just a second. Let me move in. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Yeah, he had very beautiful handwriting.
Yes.
Very, very, very fair.
So these are his case histories from the 50s.
I have to hold it more this way, yeah. I guess penmanship was emphasized more in the early years, too.
Yes.
Than now.
He had a beautiful hand, as did Adi Sr.
Yeah. It gets blurry at that point. Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's good. That's nice and dark. Hold it still. What's the date down there? That's September. That's September down here? No, it's not a date.
No, you might read the date here.
Okay, let's hold it up.
I don't have my glasses, so
I can't do it. I don't have mine either. So but I'm also got it too close here. Oh, it's the 30th, Tuesday, 30th of August, 1963. So let me just, so we can just see how lovely his writing is. Most envious of someone that has such lovely writing. Okay, so this is just one of his logbooks, huh?
yes.
Why don't you go? We'll stop because I have to be somewhere at 10:30. Why don't we show you? Can you show me that plant? Is it right out here?
Yes.
Oh, okay, let's go see the plant. You want to get that light? I'll leave that light up. There we go. I'll follow you. Oh, was this string there? Is that string there?
Yes.
Oh, let me put this on. This is, how cute is that? I'm going to show this side where it shows the latch.
This is a very old piece of furniture.
Yeah, it is.
Probably from the 1800s.
But there's the latch, and then there is how he fixed a broken latch.
Right.
With a string. Like you said, very simple.
You'll see that not every flower has 5 petals, but a perfect one that Baba described is like this. And you see it has...
Where's your hand? There's your hand, okay.
Just a moment.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't exactly a perfect one,
but it's got the 5 petals.
It's got the 5 petals, and each petal has 3 prongs. You see?
Wow.
Now, a perfect example, this one would also have 3, this one has only 2, but every now and then you'll find one with 5 petals, and each one having 3 prongs, and he said that the 5 petals represent the 5 perfect masters, and the 3 prongs are representing infinite power, infinite knowledge, and infinite bliss, and the center represents the avatar.
Wow! What is it called?
Tridex procumbens.
And is this Baba's favorite flower, or is this
Mehera's favorite wildflower.
Favorite.
You see, this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But every now and then, you know, I look.
Is there a nickname for it? A shorter name? Well, you say Trident.
Tridex procumbens is the Latin name.
Yeah.
Here's a perfect one.
Ah. Hey, we got a perfect one here.
You see, each of these 5.
Let me find your hand first. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's get in closer.
Each of these 5 has the 3 prongs. You see.
They get too close to this blue. Okay, hopefully they can see that. Each of it gets closer. Let's see if I get. Oh yes, I can get in that closer. Get the closer I get, if I can, you can see it. 3 plants.
Now you'll see the whole plant. What Padri would do is just pick it from the bottom here.
Let me get over here so I can see it. Move these out of the way.
See this?
And it looks just like a little.
He would pull it up from the ground, and he would take this whole plant with the stem and everything, and the leaves, and then he would soak it in the alcohol to make the tincture.
Ah. You take the whole thing. Cool. Bobby, thank you. Thank you so much. And we can do hopefully more later. I'd like to get you for more. Thank you very much.
What you might want to get right at the tail end here are these 3 baobab trees.
Okay, let's go out here.
These were planted by Padri and Eric in 1956.
In 1950, they're called boabab.
Boabab. It's an African tree.
Okay.
I don't know if it's native to India, but it is native to Africa. And there were 3 of them planted. The smaller one is there, medium size, and the large one. And the reason that they're different in size is because the water was more at this end. The water would run down to this.
Wow, that one's really big. They're massive trunks, and they don't get that big.
They grow very large in their species, and there's samples in Africa that they can grow as old as 10,000 years old. They're hollow, so they draw water up in the middle, and they can exist for 10 years without water. Wow. Even if they're uprooted, they have enough water they can live for a number of years without being in the ground. So these were planted in 56, and it was kind of Padri's idea to make Meherabad some marker, that would be here for
700 years when they come again.
Hundreds of years. And Eric was on a water fast at that time under Baba's instructions, a 40-day water fast, and then during that period, he and Padri planted these 3 trees. I think Padri liked he loved plants, but there was so little water. I think he liked the idea that these could survive with so little water. There's one, these in Ahmednagar in the Public Works Department on the way to Meherabad. that Duncan measured in the 60s or the 50s. It was 38 feet in circumference at that time. They grow tremendously large. Not very tall. They don't get very tall, but the base of the tree grows wider and wider and wider.
Yeah, quite wide. For a kid, that would be a great tree to climb, too.
Oh, yeah.
Super branches. Okay. Padri, thank you.
All right.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.